Hello everyone, and welcome back from a very delicious lunch break. I hope everyone had a good time at lunch. We're in the yellow room. My name is Suniti Rikari and I'm a learning designer at Victoria University, which is the one across the ditch in Melbourne, not the one in Wellington. And I'll be your chair for this session and the next few sessions if you're going to be in this room. So we'll have, without further ado, we have our first presenter, Roger Edmonds, who's going to be talking about Pedagogy Go with location-based mobile learning.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to this session. It's one that I've presented previously at other conferences, mobile learning conferences in particular. I'm going to probably keep pretty much to the script today, but to let you know, I am not a research academic, I'm not a teaching academic. Like Suniti, I'm an online educational designer, and I work with particularly teaching academics to bring new ways of teaching and learning into their curriculum. And one of those ways that we've been working with in the University of South Australia for the last 4 years really has been location-based mobile learning games. And so what you're going to hear about today is largely based on evidence from the students. We've gone out and we've collected that evidence, and we will talk to you particularly about location-based mobile learning game design, the integration and implementation strategies that some of the academics have used, and the consequences and some issues of staff-designed location-based mobile learning games and student-designed games. And so when I introduce location-based mobile learning games to people, the metaphor isn't an immediate one that comes to mind. So I want to do it this way. I want to take you to where you're probably all familiar. Location-based learning. Going out on a field excursion like this one at Hallett Cove in South Australia. Or it might be to an art gallery or to a museum. Location-based learning is not new. So let's start with that and then add some context. Deliver that learning through a mobile app. Within that app, let's use the power of the mobile phone, the GPS module that's in it, to power up that experience so that there is active location interaction tasks happening when you get to a particular place of significance. Add to that storytelling, particularly digital storytelling through the use of video, audio, text, images, to deliver the meaning, the persuasion when you're out there engaged in that learning, that emotional connection. We all love stories. And we all like mysteries too. And so we're trying to bring those two concepts together by the digital storytelling. And finally, let's add some simple gamification techniques or strategies to help with retention and collection of knowledge, recollection of knowledge. I want to make it clear that I'm not talking about game-based learning here. I'm talking about some simple gamification strategies, which I'll talk about as we go through. And so when you add all those together, you turn location-based learning into location-based mobile learning games. Here's a short video that we're going to play of some of the work that has been done at the University of South Australia, particularly in the last 2 years. Thank you.
Four of the most popular e-learning trends right now are mobile learning, gamification, digital storytelling, and geolocation. Location-based mobile learning games pull all of these together to deliver a personal, interactive and exciting new way to enhance students' learning experiences by engaging them with a story that links real locations with rich media like audio, video and images and augmented reality experiences. The project has supported 16 staff and 87 students across the university to design and develop over 80 location-based mobile learning games delivered as mobile apps in 7 undergraduate courses and 1 postgraduate course across 4 disciplines: business, education, arts and science. Over 1,400 students played the games in 2016. Phones like multimediality, connectivity and location awareness to construct powerful learning experiences for students. We also built in many interactive learning tasks like finding items and taking photographs to encourage students to more actively look for information and answers in the real world, and simple gamification like play limits and rewards for correct answers to quizzes. So it's pens down, mobile phones up, and pedagogy is go with location-based mobile learning games at the University of South Australia.
So what you saw there was the evidence that we have put together by ramping up our delivery of this teaching and learning methodology over the last few years. We started with a lot of research that has been done. We concentrated our work in those years on the benefits of playing games by students, the impact of the instructional design within the game, the benefits of designing versus playing only, and the challenges of implementing this type of program across those disciplines, as you saw. We've used a product, an off-the-shelf product called the Mobile Learning Academy to do this. As I said, it's a complete platform. It's given us the apps to deliver the mobile game. It's given us an online game maker to develop within. It's given us a community to work within and admin tools to get some basic learning analytics back on what's happening as students are playing the games. And of course a secure hosted channel for us to design in, the Mobile Learning Academy. The work that we've done involves a pretty typical development design ecosystem. We find the most important part of the whole process is the sitting down with the academics so that we can work a concept that actually has learning objectives associated with it. We identify that concept. We then look for layers in their particular environment, whether it be history, science, geography, arts, maths. We bring that concept together with them, and then we put the context around it. We put the context of where to go. Where do you actually go to develop the strategic places that are going to deliver the content as the student walks to that place? The backstory in this particular case, it's a mystery of the surveyor that designed the City of Adelaide, Colonel William Light. They don't know as well. I guess they know something about the history of the design of Adelaide in this particular game, but it's come about by having them walk through the streets of Adelaide, effectively with Colonel William Light next to them, so that they can actually hear and see what he was doing with his theodolites at the time. But it's much more than just a push. As they walk around the streets, what's happening is that they are more or less telling Colonel Light what Adelaide is like now. And they do that by taking photographs, adding notes, answering questions, engaging with the public. And all that is recorded in the game. So it's a two-way thing. It's far from push technology. You develop a map like this with those place markers on it that engage people to walk around to those locations. You put it through the game maker to make it all happen, and you're out there and you're playing. We started with one course, a business course in 2014, and worked through, as you saw in the video, students in 2016, with some exciting new developments which I'll share with So we collected the data. Hello, audio's just gone up. Okay. We collected the data through the usual methods, observations, chronicling what students were doing, the online surveys that we ran after getting ethics approval, and a lot of focus group sessions with students after they finished playing. And so I want to share some of that data with you now. And the first lot of results I'm sharing with you are of students who have played the games. And we went out there and the surveys came back with some overwhelming evidence that the location-based mobile learning games that they were involved in were engaging, they were motivating, they enjoyed the authenticity of playing in the real world outside the classroom. It was a fun way to learn, it helped them understand the topic. Whoops, so just go back a few there. When we did a side-to-side comparison of the games, the main games that were played, we identified 5 areas which were of some concern. There was more than 25% discrepancy between the really strongly agree to the strongly disagree. And those areas are shown there in the dot points on the left-hand side. One of them was contribution to learning. Capacity to deliver cooperative team processes, an icebreaker activity, ability to practice different skills, being a motivator for further research. We looked at that in a little bit more detail and we'll talk to you about why we think that's happened in the results that I shared with you very quickly a little while ago. Let's turn our attention now to student designers, those students who are actually involved in creating the game themselves. Similar results. It was motivating, it was engaging, we enjoyed it, we learnt some new skills. When we took the 2 games at that time and compared them and looked at that 25% differential, we found only one of those areas was outside of that criteria, and that was the contribution to learning. And so, again, this is a little bit of some concern, and as online educational designers working with the academics, we needed to investigate this further. So what we've found in general is that the playing of the games is an active learning experience for students. It's engaging, it's motivating. The authenticity comes across every time. We have a real world out there. We don't engage our students often enough in that real world where there are real experiences. It does strengthen their immersion with their study material if there are real-world examples to bring them to. Those students who designed the location-based mobile learning games did build their ICT capability and capacity in a number of areas: managing and communicating with ICT, investigating with ICT, applying social and ethical principles, protocols, practices. And so that was a really strong finding of ours, that their ICT capacity, which sometimes we think is up there, but it's not actually quite as high, this brought them higher. The pedagogical benefits, remember, they were the 2 questions that were always there that we were concerned about. We isolated the main criteria as to why that was. And it comes down to 2 things, really: game design and the implementation and integration in the course. And so the dot points that I've just brought up explain a little bit of that. The design factors are really the content, the duration, the level of difficulty. I heard somebody else say earlier in a presentation today that if students perceive something to be too easy, they don't engage. If an activity is too easy. In some of our games, initially, we thought they were about the right level, but they said they were too easy, so they didn't engage in them. We've learnt that information. The location that you choose, the tasks that you choose, the competitiveness. Students like the competitiveness. And you can bring that into the game with playing times and so on. The implementation strategies were critical. For a teaching academic to bring that a location-based mobile learning game into their course, they had to put up their hand to start with and say, gosh, you know, we want to take a risk, we want to try something new. This has not really been proven, but we got onto those people, so they were risk takers, no doubt about that, but we needed to link it with the learning objectives. And so those meetings, those initial meetings of being able to thrash all that out is where we want to go, and what we did. The way that it was engaged by the students was a critical factor too. Was it run as part of a tutorial as an add-on? One of the things you have to do with these games, as for some of you who are coming to the workshop on Wednesday afternoon will need to do, is to download the app so that you can get out from the tutorial and run the game straight away. How many students had downloaded the app before they started? 5%, 10%, something like that. So you had to spend some time doing that. So getting the right combination of support from the academics, the tutors who were face-to-face with the students was particularly important. The staff support from both a technical point of view, but mainly from the pedagogical point of view, of selling the idea to the students. Once they're out there, it was fine. We did have some challenges in our very first year of doing it. The day that we went out was about 39 degrees. And, well, nobody likes being out in 39 degrees, but and we've had the wind and the rain and that sort of thing as well. So there is a challenge, and I think there may be a challenge this Wednesday at the workshop, because I think the forecast for Auckland is rain in the afternoon, but we'll see what happens there. So they're all the conclusions. We are doing continued work. We are going to be putting a framework together to disseminate this to a wider audience within our university. And we're piloting practices for summative assessment of students designing games and how you can bring this into a fully online course with no face-to-face student contact. And with that in mind, and I put this slide in effectively only last night, we've had an education course which has been fully external. It's called Personalised Learning with Digital Technologies, and the peer reviews that have been just completed and the assessment of those peer reviews has just been done by the teaching academic. She emailed me that information last night, and overall it's been a tremendous success. It is possible to summatively assess this. It is possible to bring this to a group of students who are fully online, and we're really pleased with that, and we'll be able to move that into our new online learning environment at the university. A few references there that I've used in preparing this, and it's time for questions. That website address that you see under the word questions there is a link to this Prezi, so you'll be able to, if you want to note that down, you'll be able to come back and review what I've presented today. And just a plug, if you haven't signed up for the interactive workshop on Wednesday afternoon, if you're sticking around, we're going to be actually playing a game outside and then coming back inside, and you will create your own game as such. So I'm happy to take some questions if there are any before the start of the next session.